Do you have a quorum?
Not yet.
If we give you a couple more minutes, we probably will.
Oh, okay, yeah, that works.
I guess we just got a couple more minutes before
Yeah.
we start.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
I don't think there's anything to vote on for this meeting, but. Want to wait a few more minutes?
Yeah, we can wait a couple more minutes before we start, if that's fine with you.
Yeah.
And then that gives that gentleman a couple more minutes to get here.
Is anybody coming on?
There he is. There's our quorum.
There we go.
Perfect.
Oh, wow, I should have waited a little bit longer. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Wait, you'd have caught us going out the door.
How are y'all doing?
Good, how you doing, Steve? Yeah.
At this point, I'm going to call to order the Beaufort County Stormwater Utility Board. I'm going to ask Katie if we can put a copy of the proposed agenda on our screens because we don't have them in front. If you don't have them from the last meeting, they would have said the nomenclature Wednesday, September 8th, even though it's August 10th. This was printed before we moved the meetings.
It's in front of you.
Great.
She corrected it.
So, hopefully you've all had a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Passed. Okay. It's time now for introductions. Start.
Patrick Mitchell representing Ladies Island.
Steve Andrews, Northern Beaufort County.
Nathan Farrow, City of Beaufort.
Brian Watkins, member at large, Bluffton.
James Clark, unincorporated Port Royal.
And I'm Mark Feinberg, Chairman, and I represent the Fusky Island and unincorporated District 9.
Katie Herrera, Beaver County Stormwater.
Juliana Corbin, Beaufort County Stormwater.
Brian A. Baird, Town of Hilton Head Island.
Alice Sauer, District 4, County Council.
Thank you. At this time, are there any public comments? Since we have.
We are down 2 of our administrative assistants at this time. We are currently advertising for one, so Juliana and I will be sharing responsibility of keeping this presentation moving. So to start with the utility update, I did want to first mention that the fiscal year 2022 budget was approved by County Council on June 30th of this year. As part of that budget approval, I had sent a clarifying statement after the last meeting about the reason for some amendments to that budget. That included the Evergreen study and looking at everyone's compensation throughout the county. We're very thankful to County Council that adopted that budget amendment to include step-ups for everyone who's a county employee. So this brought some people up just a little bit, and some people, based on the amount of time they've been here and their position, they really saw some great advancements. So I just wanted to reiterate that, knowing how much you all care about compensation for all of our staff members, especially in Stormwater, we were able to secure that for our team. So again, thankful for County Council getting that done for us. Speaking on going through the rest of the utility update, we are still working on the SoLoco project. We are currently still the only municipality that have adopted the SoLoco standards. I know that Town of Bluffton staff are working really hard on their end to get that approved for them. I know Nate Farrow and I with the City of Beaufort are also coordinating on having some presentations done for their staff as well as their city council, to present to them the information on the SoLoco standards, why we're doing the things we're doing, and hopefully we'll have them on adopting and implementing very soon as well.
Hey, Katie, it's unfortunate that the representative from Bluffton isn't here, because at the last meeting, I thought that they were going to present that and adopt, she expected adoption last month.
She did, yes. Unfortunately, it's been taken from a couple of their agendas, but it is gonna be on the September agenda for adoption. So they're still working on a few changes, and that's why they wanted to just make sure they had the most complete package moving forward. Not to speak for the town, but we did meet a little bit yesterday, so that was their update for us. We have also reached out to Town of Port Royal staff to see if they would like the same presentation for their town council as well as their community leaders, if they would like the same presentation done for them. So we're still coordinating with everybody that's been a part of the SoLoco manual adoption. In having adopted in February, there are a few items where we've already seen we might need to make some improvements, add some things to that manual. We are planning on implementing okay, perfect. We are planning on making a few additions to that manual, and that information should be presented to the SoLoco Technical Subcommittee very soon. So it's still a living, breathing document, and we want to make sure we've got the best thing going forward for all of, not only the development community, but also for internal
Are they major
projects.
changes that are now going to trickle down to the other municipalities, and then they'll have to reinvent the wheel?
Not like that, no. We are looking at adopting some linear project qualifications so that it's a little bit more streamlined for a project such as a utility line coming in or a pathway project. So we're just looking to streamline and make it a little bit easier than having to go through the full application process. Standards won't change, but
Okay.
if we can streamline the permitting process for them, that's what we're looking into right now.
So it's an improvement.
It is, of course. Everything's always an improvement.
Hopefully.
No changes to that effect. So we are still working on getting a special presentation from the county at this time. Item number 5, we have not been looped in on the update for the county administrator, but as soon as that happens, we can have the legal department come in and provide a presentation as well. All right. Moving on to the monitoring update. No one from the lab is here, but they did provide a very comprehensive report for us to show y'all. We still work very diligently, especially in all this rain, to get the samples that we need. We're about halfway through our monitoring project at the Mossy Oaks improvement site. We should be back out early next week to get some additional samples. Again, there we're sampling at the outfall structure for the tidal floodgates, and then we're sampling upstream as well to see if some of those improvements have allowed for more treatment time in the system prior to discharge. So that's one thing we're working on. We still do monitor bi-weekly on the same schedule with the Pepper Hall property, looking at all the water coming through that system, and then as it becomes developed and improvements are made, what it looks like at the outfall structure we're currently sampling at as well. So along with the other sampling stations we collect for our TMDLs as well as our 303D listed streams. For the SWIC committee, late last year, the municipalities had the request to provide the stormwater, the countywide infrastructure fee reports provided. The town of Port Royal had initially requested this on their own, and they were provided that information. And through our SWIC committee, we decided that we should be providing the countywide infrastructure fee report to all of our municipalities. We have given the deadline to provide this report at September 1st, and I know Matt, when infrastructure is working hard to get those reports done and out on time. And I'm gonna turn it over to Miss Juliana. I know I talk a lot, and so it's great to have her step into this role. So I'll let her take over.
So moving to the stormwater related projects, we still meet monthly to talk about easements. We have a meeting tomorrow and are actively pursuing those and working through those. As far as complaints are concerned, the flyover bridge project is good to go. Contracts have been signed. We're gonna issue the notice to proceed either tomorrow or Monday. Tomorrow is the pre-construction meeting, and so construction will begin on that very, very soon. Shell Point community updates since our last update to you all. Katie and I met with Miss Alice Howard on July 8th to discuss our next moves, and pivoting from that meeting, we had our first task force meeting on July 27th with stakeholders, and then the engineer with Cranston presented his report that you all saw last month. We have scheduled the community meeting for Shell Point on August 26th, so we're looking forward to that. The Factory Creek Watershed Phase 1 construction is complete, and so the legal team is working on transferring the property. Factory Creek Watershed Phase 2, we're coordinating that easement acquisition with Patty and the legal department and the property owner. Pepper Hall, our last meeting with that property owner in our bi-weekly meeting series that we had for a while was on June 10th, and then that following Wednesday at SRT, the plans for the passive park were approved, and so construction on that has begun. And as far as the Whitehall property purchase, there are no updates, and the same is the case with the Ladies Island plan, sea level rise, and no fill ordinance. So moving to professional contracts.
Before you jump in, I just want to make the rest of the board aware that there was a meeting held, a public meeting with the Alljoy residents with the stormwater issues relating to those areas that are extremely almost at or below sea level in some cases, or at least tidal levels, I would expect. And it was, I won't say it was contentious. Ms. Herrera was there and monitored the input from the public. It seems that there was a project in 2019 that was on the books. I guess a lot of things happened to cause it not to go forward, but it appears that there's movement by their council person and the residents that they'd like some action by the stormwater people. And they were pretty vocal. I think that they're a very vocal group, but I think at the same time, they may have I won't say a few, but some serious concerns with how often, and Katie and I have spoken about it, bush hogging their drainage areas, which I guess, according to, is it Matt Roush? We only get around every 8 years is the schedule we use for cleaning out routine drainage that aren't impacted for immediate concern. And I had no idea that our cycle is every 8 years. In 8 years, you can have a tree grow. in some of those areas. And I just think that if in fact other areas are impacted, the fact that we don't get out there for every 8 years, maybe we need to look at that in our future budget considerations, or going forth to council about increasing, I guess, fees or allocations of money. It seems to me bush hogging a culvert every 8 years is a long time in between.
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard that number.
And I was stunned, quite frankly. And I think the members of the audience, public, were stunned.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, I mean, isn't that similar to kind of what's happened in Mossy Oaks and Shell Point? Isn't it kind of under the council to kind of create this task force?
Well, Mossy Oaks and Shell Point, those are DOT ditches, so.
Well,
Were these DOT in all three?
There is DOT right away, there's a lot of DOT infrastructure.
Unfortunately, in Mossy Oaks and Shell Point, they're state roads, so the ditches come under DOT, but the county has picked up the slack in Shell Point.
no, I meant more as the way that a task force was formed and the projects are designed, you know what I mean? I mean, I think, I don't know
Yeah.
what I think that's
I
what
don't-
kind of, it sounds
I
like
don't
that's what
either.
needs to happen.
That's why I was silent at the meeting.
Yeah.
And just took the information in.
Yeah, the way those kind of projects kind
Katie,
of were built.
Who in your department would actually look at that and reevaluate that for consideration to correct that issue if it needs to be?
The maintenance schedule,
Okay, can that be something that you could spearhead to see if that needs to be readdressed and looked at to?
oh yeah. we
Address
can
those concerns with
absolutely
them?
take a Look at it, so the county is on an 8-year schedule, the DOT is on a 6-year schedule.
It was-
So,
It was interesting that the state road person was represented there and brought out the fact that they have a 6-year schedule. But it's sad that they have some small roads. And it's like First Street, and I'm just using this as an example, that only runs a couple blocks long, may be a county road. Second Street is a state road. Third Street is a county road. And so you've got some going on, we're talking about a stone's throw to say between streets, one house deep between streets in one state and one's county. And I guess we try to work together to try to do it at the same time, but they have their schedule and we have our schedule. And you can live on one street and your next door neighbor, he gets his brush hog and you don't get yours another 2 years.
Yeah, but that's also just a small portion of the problem, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, bush hogging every 2 years probably can fix that
Fix it either.
situation, in my
Correct.
opinion. I don't know all the details, but it's,
Keeping those drainage ditches cleaned out will help them mitigate that water issue. But there's a department that she has that can reevaluate to see if that needs to be readdressed in the future to maybe lessen that 8-year window, to give that accessibility to that area to clear out that for better drainage.
well, obviously we were talking about, the department gets emergency calls all the time where those emergency calls are often dealt with immediately. I'm sure y'all have gotten them from Alljoy, correct?
Yes,
And
we
gone out
have.
there and done it,
What those residents, I believe, are very upset about is when the storms are coming. And when those storms come, those drainage ditches are full already. So when the storms come and they're full, there's no place for that water to go. In preparation for those ditches should have been cleaned out before that storm would approach. But that seems not to have been happening in the past couple of 6, 8, 9 years.
I really appreciated being at that meeting because I think it gave the residents of that area a face-to-face with us to address some of these issues. Mr. Mitchell, you're correct. If there are issues that are brought up to our immediate attention, those are addressed within a timely manner. The right-of-ways are on the 8-year schedule, like we inform them, and then there are some sections of the system where the county does have easements and can go in and perform routine maintenance. I would say those are on a more regular schedule than just the road
Yeah.
right-of-ways. And you make a good point, Mr. Watkins. The ditches are already full and there's no capacity to take stuff back out. And what we heard from some of those residents, and not to say specifically DOT or county infrastructure, is that some of those ditches have been cleaned out so much that the water can't ever leave. They're just stuck there.
Yeah, I mean, they're also full because just the whole system.
There's no place to go.
Exactly. And there's a reason why sticks and stuff keep filling it up, I'm sure. And this is without me even knowing exactly. I'm just
And
guessing.
It's my understanding, and Ms. Ferrer mentioned it to me earlier, that in this prior project, right, one of the things that had to happen, they need retention ponds. They need to possibly pump into retention ponds to make it work. And to do that,
It's a major project when it's
they
going to be a
needed,
major.
some of the people needed to give up some of their land, and they weren't amenable to that at that time.
And again, I think, in our discussion prior to this meeting, there are new people that are coming into this area and they want to see change, which is also kind of revitalized, I think, what's currently going on. One thing I did reiterate to them is it's important for us to have an entire drainage system. One person willing to participate, but the person 2 doors downstream, not buying into it, does not do us any good. It doesn't do them any good, and
Exactly.
it doesn't do. We are limited in what we can address. It was reiterated during that meeting that this is a community-wide effort. If you want to see community-wide change, you all have to be here at the table having these conversations. Certainly, I can respect people not wanting to give up property. They probably lived there for decades. I know there are quite a few residents that have been there very long term. But we've got to keep the momentum going on this project. One of the reasons that we had the meeting was to kind of really explain to people too what the county can do and what the county can't do. DOT was there represented, and I'm very appreciative of Ms. Penn Sanders for participating, because they had some DOT specific questions that I certainly would have not been able to answer. And they brought very valid points to the table, things that they would like to see us starting. And it'll be an initiative for us to do what we can do to make the system work as a whole. If we know that we'll be in the area, like you mentioned, the First Street, Second Street thing, if we're gonna already be there, we can link them in to have it done kind of as a system together concurrently. Not just, one person made the comment, you go right up to the DOT right away and then you stop. But their system still isn't functioning and we don't know when they'll be here. So I think doing more of that collaborative effort will be very helpful. The project prior, they were planning on going for FEMA funding for this project, and without the participation of the people that this would ultimately affect, we did not pursue that grant anymore, because there's no sense in going for a grant that nobody really wants to get and have the work done. So, but this was also 3 years ago.
Right. Like you said, I think, I don't want to belabor it. It's an issue that's come to the county's forefront, and they're in unincorporated Beaufort County. And we just need to make sure that through, I guess it's Mr. Lawson, their representative, that he understands to communicate to them that, I hate to say it's an all or none thing. Everybody has to buy in, and then we can get a project back on track. But if half the community or 20% of the community does not want to play, it's not going to happen. And I think it has to be, spoken to. Mr. Lawson, as their representative, needs to communicate that to them in no uncertain terms.
I think he did say that in some of
veiled.
Well, Patrick's point was good about task force.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like in a big area like that, something like what happened in Mossy Oaks and what's starting to happen that y'all are doing in Shell Point. I mean, I think that's a big enough area. That's something similar to that. And then I guess that were both of those spearheaded by the council. You were the council members for these two, but
Spearheaded the one in Mossy
Okay.
And, the staff and, if we start the task force for Shell Point, kind of modeling it after.
Yeah, exactly.
I've already tapped a resident that was participating in that discussion, to be on the board. He had a lot of great points. I think he was very well spoken. Probably
The young man sitting at the front.
Mr. Simpson, Josh Simpson.
Okay.
So I've already, the wheels are working.
Good.
For sure. That was gonna be during my regional coordination update, but since you got brought up.
Sorry I interrupted.
That's a worthy
One more
conversation.
question before you go, Ms. Herrera. When you speak of the FEMA grants, even though you've applied and stopped, can't you still apply for those every year, seeing how active our area is for tropical storms and hurricanes? To be ahead of it when a declaration of disaster area happens, having that grant already available will actually put Beaufort County ahead of the game instead of behind it.
Right.
So can we start trying to look at getting those FEMA yearly grants, anticipation for those?
There are a lot of funding opportunities available, and some of them are every year, some of them are every 2 years, some of them have different application windows. For example, you can only apply for a utility grant this half of the year, and then an infrastructure grant the second half of the year. Stormwater, unfortunately, is not called out in so many black and white terms, but that is one thing we're looking into, so that all these bigger projects we know exactly what we need to qualify and how we're going to expend those funds to get the biggest bang for our buck, so that we don't have to increase stormwater fees.
Exactly.
And we can have this federal money available.
Yes.
So,
Do we have any active grants I would say, in waiting to be approved, to be granted?
no, we do not have any grants waiting, but we have grants we are looking at starting
Okay.
and applying for.
Okay.
Yes.
And Brian, correct me, just so you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say this was to be able to, the initial engineering studies were looking at like 8 to 12 million for Alljoy, right? Wouldn't it create something?
I saw in my notes in the margin some large numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say it might have been 8 figures because of what is going to have to be done. I think.
Oh, yeah, they have some kind of
too
thing
low.
going for
Yeah.
vote for maybe a streetscape on that main corridor down there. That would be a good time to, if that did get approved, maybe some small infrastructure.
That is the penny tax.
The penny tax, I saw some signs down there.
Yeah,
I don't, that penny tax is for streetscapes, is
that
it?
is for pathways.
Pathways.
Yeah, that's bicycle and walking pathways.
So once you put those impervious walkways in there, we have more of a problem of no drainage.
They're saying that that's not going to happen.
Well, we were trying to, the pathway project and their concerns is one thing.
Yeah.
That's how we had this conversation started.
Oh, I
about the
see.
Drainage.
Ah,
There are a couple pathway projects currently going through permitting now within the county, one of which is off of Detour Road. Steve, you're familiar with this one. We trying to just figure out how much runoff these sidewalks were really generating. Wolpert ran the model, not only for what kind of pollutants of concern we were looking at, nitrogen, phosphorus, bacteria, but also how much volume of water. And it was a very minimal amount
Okay.
that could be pre-treated prior to entering a ditch system through something as simple as a vegetative filter strip.
correct, yeah.
So, it's not as, no, it will not add to any sort of problem. And these projects are also not exempt from meeting our standards. This was just the model that was run for the pathway project here, and then we're just gonna kind of use that, as the standard moving forward.
Thank you, thank you. That's it, right?
All right. So now to the professional contracts report. Capital improvement projects from fiscal year 2018 that are still in progress include the Salt Creek project. We've gotten MS4, OCRM, and SCDOT permits. And appraisal is in progress on that project. The Shanklin Road project, we met with the property owner on July 2nd and gauged his interest in the project. And so there are things to work on following that meeting, and the consulting engineer is working on those as we speak. And Brewer Memorial, that contract has also been signed following approval at that would have been June 28th, county council meeting. And so we're waiting on the requisition and budget carryover for that, and then that project will also begin construction. Evergreen Regional Pond, which is a 319 grant project, construction is actively occurring there. The contractor is busy dewatering and digging the site, and they're nearing the end of that, hopefully. And then Stormwater Engineering Consulting Services, we continue working with Wolford, our consultant, on scope number 3, and are also in progress of coordinating with them on a scope number 4 for tax run assistance. That concludes that part of the agenda.
Switch off
Thank
again.
you.
And I'm just gonna add a little bit to those professional contracts. So I know as part of the budget and for these projects that have kind of been lingering, we made a determination. If we're not gonna have people that wanna participate, we're moving on, we're taking our funds elsewhere. Thankfully, earlier this week, we have, the Shanklin Road project is 2 different projects. There's one north of Rosita Road and there's one south of Rosita Road. The individual who's south of Rosita Road is very interested in participating, and we are actively getting appraisals on that property. And we just got earlier this week the commitment to participate in the northern section of that property as well. So what was once about to go to the history books is now kind of back on an active plate. The next step for us is to get those appraisals to see if we can really if they're going to be willing to participate in what the county has to offer for those properties. So, so that was all for Shanklin Road.
Regional coordination.
Regional coordination. Again, I know we talked about the All Joy project, and we've also talked about the Shell Point Task Force. Again, we're looking forward to having the community members be there August 26th, 6 p.m. Love to have y'all join us. I know Mr. Clark, we've tapped him to be on that task force. So we appreciate his participation. And then just to reiterate, for Mossy Oaks, we are still continuing sampling in that area with USCB. For the municipal reports, Brian, do you speaking? Yeah. We didn't get a report in time for the packet. But
We would love to have you speak.
yeah.
Thank you, board members. Again, Brian with the town of Hilton Head Island. As you know, we had Tropical Storm Elsa, and that kept most of our month. We were very busy dealing with the aftermath of that event on the island. In the month of July, we recorded close to 30 inches of rainfall. And it's done a couple of different things. We had a drought period in the spring, and it put a lot of stress in our wetlands and our forest areas. And then we get all this rain, it's inundated, they're wet. So we're seeing a lot of stress to wetlands and loss of conveyance capacities within some of the areas that we use. We did lower all of our weirs on the island to event, and it seemed to function really well. Most of the PUDs and private pond owners lowered their weirs, and they quickly put them back in place. Then it rained again after Elsa in the second week of July pretty hard, so they were starting to pull boards again. So it's kind of been a board pulling, street sweeping, inlet cleaning, busy month for us. I know Jeff and I were working on an actual report to send to you guys, so I think we'll have it at the next meeting for sure. Just kind of highlight some of the issues that we faced and we saw and continue to see on Hilton Head as a result of these different summer flash storms that we're not really used to. So We're also implementing our See-Click Fix program for the public, much like your Beaufort County BCC Connects.
BC Connect.
BC Connect. Very similar in that, but it's not really an app of sorts. It's more a website-based. Anybody can sign in, complain, whether it's trash in the road, it's a sidewalk that's in disrepair, or it's a stormwater drainage issue. So that's been very helpful. I think we went live 2 weeks ago, and we have 6 items that the public has notified us to. So I think that's really productive. I've been busy with the Adopt a Stream program in South Carolina, which is an initiative by DHEC to train volunteers to go out and sample our saltwater estuaries and waterways to establish a baseline condition for the water chemistry in our waterways. And we trained 17 volunteers.
You had a call for volunteers just recently, correct?
We did. We had 20 people sign up the first time, and then we've had another, I want to say 12 on the second training. But of the 20, 17 showed up, which is good.
Pretty good.
It was a hot day. And then on I think it's on the 20th of August, we're having roughly about 12 people show up for that again. We hope to be able to convey smart ways to sample procedurally and what we're expecting out of them. We're testing for 5 different analytes: air temperature, water temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH, and salinity. So there's not a lot that we're sampling for, but it is a nice baseline for, I think, all the county to have going forward, and they're going to be spreading out into our county really soon. I think that's about it. You have any questions?
We met yesterday.
We met yesterday, which was nice. We haven't, this whole COVID thing. We used to get together even with Charleston County and those folks around Charleston. Katie, myself, and Bill Bauer, Bluffton. We'd meet on a quarterly basis with their group, and then our Beaufort County group, we tried to meet also on a quarterly basis. Kind of how's the permit going? What are the issues you're seeing? What are things coming up? Whether it be from car washes to carpet cleaning. I had a carpet cleaning issue. How do you dispose of carpet cleaning water? There is no place you can go and just discharge legally. So there's been that.
You call the county environmental engineer and she will have an answer for you.
Well, they go to the car wash. And they discharge into car washes.
That's what they're doing? And those car washes have a recycler, water recycler?
Most of them go to the sanitary, but not all of them.
That's true. And you've seen the pop-up of new car washes in the areas.
I have.
Quite a few now.
And some are connected properly and some aren't. So that's right there on that front.
A lot of carpet cleaning going on, huh?
Huh?
A lot of carpet cleaning going on.
There's a lot of carpet cleaning going on. And so we're delving into that. We have the old FOG, fats, oils, greases, from our restaurant businesses, which we had one that was, I issued a notice of violation upon their current practices and how they dealt with their ongoing operations. And as a result of that violation, they've really turned the corner. So it's actually a success story. So they started out not really knowing anything. You might think it's something behind the restaurant, don't really have to pay attention to now it's something they're actually celebrating. And they're making not only everything in English, it's also in Spanish. And they're making a point of emphasis to all their new trainees. This is how we deal with this. This is what we don't do. This is what we do. So hopefully we get a PSA or something together about that in Hilton Head, and be happy to share that with the county as well. But it's a strategy that it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of staff time to successfully implement, but it also takes a willing owner who kind of understands it too. So some of the highlights that we've been up to lately.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We did receive a report from the town of Bluffton that's included in the packet. Nate, did you have anything to?
So, we've been continuing to monitor and, also check on the systems that were implemented in the Mossy Oaks area. We've been working with the flat gates to make sure that, we get the correct adjustments and we've kind of been working with them. It's new to us, but we're trying to figure it out as we go and we've got it just about right there, just a few more tweaks and we think we'll have it, solid for, upcoming events. When Elsa came through, we pulled the floats, which allowed for storage space, and we received zero flooding calls during the storm after that. So that was a success. We're also working with Johnny Morale Circle right now with the vac truck company coming in and trying to get that cleaned up to help with some of the flooding on Rebot Road.
Yeah, Nate and I have been coordinating, trying to get some of the system on Rebo Road cleared, because we're having a couple of properties, they've got a couple of properties that are pretty severely impacted during storm events. So we've been coordinating our crew, including the camera and our vac truck, to kind of assist with them, and we've taken it about 90% of the way. There's just one area that, you know, our equipment can't really address properly, so. But after that, we'll see another success story with that coordination between us and the city. So we have, the county and the city have entered into an IGA, along with the town of Yemassee for professional services and assistance with projects to have more coordination between our jurisdictions. That went live as of August 2nd, right? Yep, so we're already aware of some of the projects coming down the line that we'll be working together on, and so
Great.
we work together on behind the scenes. So again, Town of Port Royal, we did not receive anything, but Van was there at the task force meeting, and I know he's planning on being there at the community meeting as well. Sorry. Going to the MS4 report. Like Brian mentioned, we've seen a lot of rain in the last month. I think Alljoy, I pulled them specifically for this, for the meeting we held, and within 4 months, they've had almost 23 inches of rain. And most of that has been in the months of July and June. So it's been very wet. I know our infrastructure staff is working really hard to get a lot of this flooding mitigated and moving out to the appropriate conveyances. Juliana, would you mind just clicking on? There we go. So Juliana has been working with our stormwater plan reviewer, Mr. Tanner Powell. He's a special projects engineer. And as of August, she is officially on her own handling all the plan review for our department. In July, we've seen quite the increase, again, in some permits. This is showing the permits that have been issued, as well as what's been reviewed. And again, we still see that consistency of work that wants to go to construction in the county. So, monthly inspection reports, we, like most organizations, have been impacted by COVID. And unfortunately, last month we had some staffing issues related to people being out so that they could protect themselves from the virus or, heal appropriately. So we did see a little decrease in the amount of inspections we've done, but still certainly a lot of effort going on within the county right now. So 13 enforcement actions on single-family residential homes. And again, we continue to actively investigate any illicit discharge reports we're made aware of or find in the field, and working to incorporate any major commercial construction projects, closing out, putting them into our post-construction BMP program. So,
Quick question for you. On the enforcement side of it, how many do you currently have now doing the enforcement?
oh, gonna have to count my hand. I think we still have 6.
6? When you have a complaint come in, what's the turnaround on that complaint? Investigation or going out to investigate it
For an illicit discharge, I mean,
immediately?
yeah,
Okay,
same day, day after.
okay. All right, thank you. That was it. I just get put time to ask.
For our, oh, I'm sorry, so the rain station data, there it is on the screen there, again, seeing some pretty substantial spikes, last month and the amount that we've seen. The public education report from Miss Ellen has also been provided. We are looking at hosting a stormwater pond conference late October. Beaufort County will have a presentation during that time on the Evergreen 319 grant project. So we look forward to presenting that to the community. And then there's also discussion of having a role and responsibility presentation by myself, Mr. Eber, and Mr. Bauer with the town of Bluffton, to kind of give people an understanding of what type of service you can expect out of each of our jurisdictions. Because we do differ in some ways, so. We will be, Brian, if you want to jump in on this one, they're hosting the Keep Broad River Creek. Broad Creek?
No river.
No river, sorry, north of the Broad problems.
Yeah, so we have the foundation that's been very successful over time, with the Eyesight Foundation, I guess it's called, in helping keep the Broad Creek cleanup event. It's twice a year. This is the big event, it's in the fall. They're also going to be, I think, setting some reefs into the actual creek to promote, more oyster growth and other habitat for fish along there. So we're kind of excited about it. Last year was canceled because of COVID. This year we're still going to have it. I don't know what the rules will be, but there's a spot for our public ed, public outreach, as well as others to join and talk about our MS4 programs that we do for stormwater. But really just get the kayaks out into the creek. They go collect trash, they come back and report. Thankfully, in the wood, we haven't seen a lot of trash in the creek, but who knows, and they can change with the season. So it's a big push, big educational push. A lot of people are there. It's open to the public. I think it's from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And 3 or 4, it's kind of late in the afternoon, and welcome everybody. It's there in Shelter Cove by the big Captain Newton.
It's your
I was
town.
gonna say Captain Woody, but it's the symbol for
Neptune?
Neptune. That's it. And so everyone can see there. There'll be about 20 different exhibits going on. So it's a good time. There'll be face paintings, and they're gonna have some different activities for kids as well as education and bringing up what they see from the creek, as well as what we're putting into the creek to promote healthier.
I think it's fabulous that we get the young people educated. I work heavily in Adopt a Highway,
Right.
and trying to get into the schools is very difficult right now. So if we can do it outside venues where parents want to bring their children, so we euphemistically can educate the children so they can educate their parents.
Exactly. The way to the parents
Is the way to do it. So
definitely-
I commend you.
Well, and it's fun. I mean, it's sunny, but it's fun, and we have a decent turnout. A couple hundred people show up out from the public, and hey, I didn't know this was going on, or hey, I knew it. I'm ready. How can I help? So, plenty of volunteers and plenty of staff.
That's the big one we've got coming up. We'll have the.
And that date is?
The
The
18th.
18th.
I know town of Hilton Head will be there. I will be participating alongside Ellen. for the Low Country Stormwater Partners table, and then the county will also have their solid waste and recycling staff out as well, so.
At
and I would-
at that same location? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. And I would say, Brian, the reason there's no trash is because we do all these educational events. People realize.
Well, so how many times do I sweep the streets? How many miles is, it's about 50 miles of streets I sweep weekly. Not monthly, not annually, not semi-annually. We sweep it weekly. And that really captures a ton of it. You could drive over the bridges are clean.
Yeah.
Both blowing and street sweeping.
I see them daily out there.
We're there daily, even on Saturdays and Sundays. And now we've had to move to daytime sweeping, just because it was getting so busy at night. So daytime, we're doing some of the residential roads through there. We're seeing a little different.
Have you picked up the Cross Island toll?
We do.
You picked up that area now too?
Yep.
Yep.
Because it only makes sense. It leaves a lasting image to all the visitors that are coming to the island. Now it's always free. It's even more so important. So we sweep that. We sweep the bridges twice. So essentially, you're getting hit, every month you're getting hit every 8 times. We need it because, unfortunately, people still go to the trash.
Yes.
For our Energov permitting software, I know this has been something that's also kind of been delayed, especially through this COVID season that we're in. But happy to report that online the permitting software is scheduled to go live on target September, October. We've got some training meetings scheduled for early September to kind of train the trainer, and then we'll have some end user trainings, and then that should go live very shortly after. So we're looking forward to having a more streamlined permitting process here at the county.
Does the board know that the town of Hillhead uses Energov software? We use the same software. We're in the same boat. It is a learning curve. It's a steep learning curve. So it's currently what we do. We're happy to help. I'm happy to help you guys if you really need it.
And that's it for the MS4 report.
I have a question about MS4, and it goes back a couple of years ago when
Sure.
when you were hired as the MS4 coordinator for the county. The county administrator, we spoke of, and this is more to Brian and Nate, because they're the only ad hoc people here today. We talked about the fact that after, and we're talking 2018, now we're 2021, that we thought eventually that there would be some overlap, all right, from the MS4 personnel in the incorporated towns and the unincorporated and the county, that eventually there would be some synergies evolve that you could, or we could, but mostly you could reduce your staffs to get a more focused approach to MS4 within the whole county. And I don't know if anybody's ever broached that at all, but our previous, I guess it was Mr. Kubiak who spoke and said that, eventually we have 5 municipalities have MS4 coordinators and have MS4 samplers. Then we have the county who has MS4 coordinators and samplers. And sometime down the road, there should be some synergies there that we could take advantage of. And I don't know if you have meetings on MS4 with the 5
We have
incorporated towns and ourselves to talk about what we have in common and what we could do to save money for everybody.
And so Bill, Brian, and myself met yesterday to kind of keep coordination and momentum going. Everybody's doing a lot of things within their own groups, but then at the same time, how do we get a similar message across countywide? And what works in the town of Hilton Head should work in Beaufort County, should work in town of Bluffton.
Best practices, I guess you would say.
Absolutely, yes. there are currently only 3 MS4s within the unincorporated Beaufort County, or I'm sorry, within Beaufort County's.
Because of size.
Yes. Now, we were hoping, when I started here, it was the statement by DHEC that that a new MS4 permit would be coming out shortly. And we're almost 4 years into waiting on the new permit. And at this time, I don't know that we're any closer in 2018 than we are today. But the IGA that we have initiated with the city of Beaufort could lend that discussion to not to, I guess, streamline a program. If anything, I feel that they would get more comprehensive.
It's more not taking the silos down instead of having potentially 6 silos, the county and 5 other silos,
Sure.
having more interdisciplinary work together as you're doing with Beaufort. Again, maximizing effort. Maybe if you can't reduce staff, you won't have to expand staff.
Yep, and again, we do coordinate what we can at the local level, and if the city of Beaufort or the town of Port Royal becomes an MS4, it might be a conversation to have at that time. If some people want to run their own program, and certainly that's their decision to make. So, but some of the steps we're taking would help facilitate a more shared ideology.
I'm saying that Beaufort's the next growth spot, so maybe you'll get the population you need.
I don't know.
Be careful what you wish for, though.
Right. Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I think right now we're still at least a year or 2 out from that. So, one thing I wanted to add, I know that we get to talk about a lot of things here, but I think that our staff should be highlighted a little bit more. So I kind of added at the end, I don't know if you've seen it in the last packet, including this one, just to give y'all an update on where we're at staff-wise and what our staff continues to achieve. Last month, we had 3 of our staff members get their certified erosion prevention and sediment control inspector's status from Clemson University. We have 2 staff members that are going to be taking the certified stormwater plan reviewer training in November. We had one of our staff members recently get his CDL license. So we're grateful that we've got a community and employees that are wanting to continue their education. And we're also happy to provide those opportunities to them. For the last board packet, we did have 2 additional public work enforcement officers, initiated. That was Miss Juliana Corbin over here, as well as our newest inspector, Mr. Judah Wood. So, unfortunately, this staff update is a little bit sad. Tiffany Patrick has chosen to leave the program. Her last day was August 6th. We wish her well. She will be greatly missed. I did cry a little on Monday morning. And we are currently hiring and actively searching to fill that role. So I appreciate Juliana and I kind of tag teaming this presentation to make sure everything still goes smoothly for y'all. So.
Well, I think I speak for the board that we're certainly thrilled that to see you all at every meeting. Maybe a suggestion is that when some of these people get their accreditations, we can put them on the cable news network. They can come here and get kudos from us to them in person. And I think that might go a long way for others to want to,
Face-to-faces.
others to join in.
Absolutely.
And I think we'd be pleased to recognize their efforts and their awards. And
I'd
it
love
puts
to do that.
and puts a name to a face.
And a parking space for Employee of the Month for them.
A pervious parking space.
There you go. Absolutely.
Don't they all get Employee of the Month? No, these are great suggestions, and I would love to have people come in more face to face.
I mean, I realize it takes some it takes 2 hours of their time from a 37 and a half or 40-hour work week. I don't know what it is these days, but I think it would be time well spent to recognize their efforts on our behalf.
Great. I think the maintenance report is next. So Tiffany's been out. We've also had our admin assistant for the infrastructure department. She left in late May, so we've had some staff filling in to help keep this train moving down the track. And I know we only have 3 reports to present today. I know we have about 10 in the queue. We're just waiting on one, the gas prices for the last 3 months to come in. So next month we'll have a lot more reports to present to you. So these are pretty minor projects, mostly just jetting and backing out pipes to keep the system maintained and flowing. So this is what we have this month. Certainly if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me about them. And we look forward to having more for y'all for the September board packet. And that is it for me.
I wouldn't get too comfortable because we have unfinished business next.
Yes.
And the first thing is Graves Road's 2 lakes.
Yes. We were gonna give Ms. Howard the opportunity to speak.
I don't have anything to add, just thank you again, we're gonna have our public meeting, and thank you to Katie and Jim for being in our task force meeting. We had a good discussion. We're having a small task force and then the larger meeting, on the 26th, and, I'm excited about it. I think we'll get some things done. In Shell Point, that's in my district, so I'm very selfish about that. It's been a long time getting there. So, thank you.
Great.
That's all I have.
Sorry.
Back up. So during the last meeting, Mr. Feinberg, you had mentioned that you'd seen a plan that called for 2 lakes being built on the county park.
Correct.
That we, looking over plans again that have all been approved, there's only 1 pond for the county park property. There are not 2 ponds. So, and that's been confirmed by community development as well as the engineering firm. So,
Good.
yeah.
I'm glad.
Yes. They, like Juliana mentioned, that those permits were approved in mid-June and they went to construction pretty much immediately. So the county is out there inspecting weekly, along with our monitoring efforts for those projects.
Looks like a lot of activity going on in that parcel right now.
Yes, they currently have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Juliana, we have the roads and infrastructure permit approved, and that's the construction, you're probably seeing the roadside. And then we've got the pond located on the county property towards the back of the property. Have the townhomes been fully approved?
I think so. Yes.
They're starting to build the out parcels, and so we do have just a little ways down Graves Road, they're gonna be, there's a townhome project that's been approved, so that's what's going on now, and I know there are several projects in the line for approval as well.
Thank you.
So, and just to address, I know the question was raised if we could see the invoices for work being done. We have not yet received any invoices for 2022. The budget was approved for close to $750,000, and what we've seen as their proposal is less than that. So we should be in a very comfortable position.
Going forward.
Yes, moving forward. And then it is my understanding that this is going to be the last batch of some of the major responsibilities that the county has in order to fund those projects. So.
After that, it's just maintenance and monitoring of the lagoon, the lake.
Yep, the stormwater pond.
Yes.
Yep, so that's it for
Thank you.
Graves. You're welcome. And ex officio voting. So after the meeting that we had I went back and talked with Ms. Howard about changing the districting of the utility board and having ex officios be able to vote during the board. And we determined that at this time, it's not the appropriate time to push that forward. We've got some redistricting that'll probably happen with the new census information, so I think we determined we would kind of look back at it at that point, and move forward appropriately.
So we'll just keep it as it is now.
I think it'd be easier for everybody right now because the redistricting of the census districts will start this fall and there'll be public input and that will probably change the makeup of the county council districts too. So, we'll see. I think sometime next spring might be a good time to look at it again. All that'll be I don't know when the state legislators and others vote on the districts, but it should be settled out. I think there's a deadline around December. So.
Point of clarification, if you would, Ms. Howard, maybe you can shed some light. Why is it that we have district representatives of certain districts, but they don't match up to the stormwater districts?
I don't know. That's a good question. And solid waste is the same way. Because most boards and commissions match up by district.
Correct.
And this one and solid waste don't.
And we don't know why.
I don't know why. I'd have to ask someone who's been around longer than me.
I think it's the state statute language.
Is it? Okay.
For specific for stormwater?
Stormwater.
Is it based on basins, water basins maybe?
Because it's a fee stuff. I think it's a little bit different. It's not tax. It's a fee, and I think the same is true with the land, solid waste. But it's been a while since I looked at that.
Okay. That makes sense because the other boards and commissions don't handle a fee. They're just straight up like.
And they're based upon tax
zoning-
districts.
Yeah, based on tax and census districts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that sounds like a good reason.
I know it's
It's
established,
been 20 years.
it's established in the ordinance who would participate, but I'm not certain about the specific language, why they dictated those sections to be represented.
We could ask the county attorney to know about and get a legal answer to that.
That'd probably be the best thing to do.
I just thought it doesn't make a whole lot of common sense, so I just thought maybe if it's possible, maybe it's not by statute possible. If it is, maybe at the same time they're looking at the census to realign the districts with the right council people.
We'll still have 11 council members as far as I know. It just there might be fewer north of the Broad than south of the Broad. So, because the population has shifted.
Thank you. Is there any new business from any of the members of the board? From staff?
We're currently hiring.
How many positions do you have?
We have 2 administrative positions, and I want to say 5 to 6 our infrastructure team. Our regulatory group is fully staffed, and the management group will be fully staffed with the hire of an admin. So.
Okay. If there's no business, we'll open it up for public comment at this time. Is there any public comment? There being no public comment, can we put up the next draft meeting agenda? Please take a look at the agenda on your screens. And I would ask that after you've had a chance to look at it, to have a motion to approve the next meeting's agenda.
Motion to approve the next month agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second? Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn?
That would be next. Is that a formal motion to adjourn?
Formal motion to adjourn.
You're a second.
I'll second that one as well.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.